Okay, so good afternoon. I wanted to shoot you a quick video and show you how I use CSS to modify templates. Now, before I start this video, I want to say that you can do a massive amount of customization without CSS. It's just when you learn CSS, it really does open up a whole world of opportunities about how you can tweak your templates. So I'm going to show you a little bit about how to do that. So essentially, some of the things that you can do with CSS are kind of change the border radius, add different colors to the background, to this area, to add an image to this area on the pop-up, change the button color, the button width, the button height, the font sizes, stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend going too much into font sizes at the moment. We've got everything optimized so it kind of shrinks down if they're on a smaller device. So only if you're kind of really savvy with CSS, you should kind of step into that area. But before I start delving into CSS and how I customize it, I want to show you a couple of things first, just in case you weren't sure. So this is about how to change the colors and stuff like that using the features that are already available inside SurveySlam. So for example, I'm going to show you how you can change the button colors, the background of this pop-up area, and the background area over here. We could have a background image or kind of whatever we want. So to give you a general idea of how SurveySlam looks at the moment, this sequence, if I click on the button, we can see we've got these kind of blue radio buttons. Click on it, we've got blue checkboxes. Okay, so that gives you a general idea of how it looks. So I'm going to go back to SurveySlam. I'm going to scroll down to the survey and end results style. And the first thing we're going to do is down by custom colors, we're going to change our custom color. Now, essentially what our custom color is the primary color is the button color and the text color is the text color. So this will change this actual button color and this text color. Also the things which are like the same color, so the drop down menu, that will also be blue. On the next one, like on the radio buttons and the checkboxes, there will also be that primary color. So to do that, we just select the checkbox and choose our color. I'm going to choose white because white goes onto a dark background, which we've chosen for our primary color. So that's the first step. Second step is the survey background. Now, there's two areas to remember here. What we are looking at is the survey background and the squeeze page background. This is what we're going to change next. So if we go back to our form, this is the squeeze page background and this is the survey background. So the white block is actually part of the survey. So if we're creating a pop-up, you wouldn't actually see the squeeze page background. You just see the survey background. Okay, so let's say we wanted to change this from a white to a slightly lighter gray color. We would go into the survey section. And if you scroll down to survey background, there's a little checkbox. And if you check that, it opens up a background color option. So I'm going to select that I want to make it, let's say a gray. It's going to look kind of ugly, but it's going to be like a really light gray. So it'll be a very subtle change. You can also change the opacity. So if you wanted like the whole thing to be see-through, you can do that. Essentially, if I made this survey area see-through, it wouldn't exist. So you would only see that this text would actually be on this background here because there's no survey background. Okay, so we can also add in a background image. So if I wanted to add a background image to the survey, I would do that here. I'm not going to do that because it's going to make it very hard to read. So you can also add in a border. So if I wanted to add a border around this area, let's say I wanted to make a 5-pixel border and I wanted it to be red. So you just basically select that. And also we've got a drop shadow. Now the drop shadow is, you see, is very subtle, so you might not be able to see it. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to make it really obvious so you can see what it is. So at the moment I've got it set to 50 opacity. I'm going to change it up to 70 and I'm going to make the size a lot bigger, say 50. and I'm going to change the color to a light blue. So this is going to give it a kind of shine looking effect. Okay, so you'll see that in a second. So next I'm going to go down to the squeeze page style. Now the squeeze page, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. We can add in top bars, foot bars, footer bars, and you can customize the content area. So one of the really cool things about the content area, which is basically this background area, you can either have choose a solid color just by selecting a color by clicking this box, or you can add in a background image. So for this example, I'm going to add in a background image. So I've got a couple of golf ones up here. I've got one which I made with Survey Slams, this one. So you just select your image and choose image. It's quite a big image, this one. It's 1,200 pixels wide. And you'll see why that's important now. So once you select your image, you also have to choose the size and the position. So the size of the image, we don't want it tiled. We don't want it to repeat itself. We don't want it centered because then it won't repeat itself on the outside. What we want is for it to cover the whole screen. So this basically stretches the image or shrinks the image depending on how big the screen size is. And we're going to center that. Okay, so if I click on save now, we're going to see how the pop-up was before, which is like this. And if I refresh the page, you're going to see something completely different. So you can see how quickly it is to customize Survey Slam. We've got this border. We've slightly changed this to a light gray. You can barely see it, but we did change the color. We've got the red buttons. We've got this very subtle drop shadow, which just makes it stand out a bit more from the background. And we have our background area just behind it. So this is without even touching CSS. So this kind of shows you how flexible this tool is. If we go on to the next one, we can see all of our radio buttons have changed to our primary color, which was the first color we set in the custom color options up here in the survey and end result style. So custom colors, primary color, text color. So that is how that works. So it's all looking pretty good. Okay, so now what if there is something which you can't change inside the plugin or inside the tool? This is when we start using CSS. So the way I do it, I use Google Chrome. Now Google Chrome has a built-in tool which allows you to do all sorts of crazy stuff. And all you need to do is open up the page that you want to customize, right click on the element that you want to customize. So let's say I wanted to add a bigger border radius onto this pop-up. If I right click right in the corner, so I want to make sure I'm not selecting any other elements, I'm going to right click right in this corner and click on inspect. It's going to open up this box, and you see where it's highlighted this dark blue area. It kind of shows you what you're looking at. So what we want to do, we want to scroll up until we find the outside of this area. So this is it right here. So we can see where it's blue in the middle, that is the area that we want to customize. Where it's orange on the outside, that's the area that we don't. So we can see here, this area has main inner. So it's called main inner. So basically what we do, we can see all the colors and the options that we've changed already. So the background color is a light gray, the border color is a red kind of color, and the box shadow is that kind of light blue, which is just fading out. I can actually change these inside here, and all the changes happen live on the page. You can see the colors changing. So if I change this to a black, I could make it a lot thicker. I could change the opacity slightly by bringing it down. Opacity, sorry. So you can see how easy it is to change. If I change the background color to a red, you'll see why I didn't do it. It's just bright red, so it's quite extreme. So obviously we didn't want to do that. We could have a nice like dark color. That actually looks pretty good. It kind of stands out quite well. But it just shows you how flexible it is. Even if you're not adding CSS, you can use this to kind of get a quick visual representation of how your survey might look with different color schemes and stuff like that. But let's go back to how it was before. I want to show you how we can add in a new thing, a new kind of element to this CSS. So I'm not going to go into showing you all the different CSS elements that you can add and stuff like that, because it really does take quite a while to learn. And if I start going through all that stuff, you're going to get extremely bored by the end of this video. So what I would say is, what you want to do is go to Google, type in CSS free cheat sheet, and just start looking at the different CSS elements. Now, I learned entirely how to use CSS from messing about in this small panel here. Now, as you can see, you can click on things and you can change them, but you can also add new ones. So if I go to a new space, I know what I want to type in. I want to change the border radius. So as you can see, as I start typing, it brings up all the different options. So I need a drink of water. It brings up all the different options that you can change. So I want to change the border radius, so I'm going to select that one. And let's say I want to change it by 50 pixels. Now, because I've actually already got border radius in my custom CSS, it's not taken effect. But I can type in a bit of code, which I shouldn't really type, but I do sometimes, which overrides the other code and makes it work in here. So as you can see, I've just changed the border radius to 50 pixels, so it's a lot more curved now. But you can do this on the fly just by adding stuff in, so you can see exactly how crazy, all the kind of crazy stuff that you can do. You can get some extremely unique styles just by messing around. So this is the border radius element that I've just added. So I might want to mess about with that a little bit to make sure the whole pop-up can be seen. But yeah, basically get Google Chrome, right click on the element you want to change. So if I wanted to change this button color, I'm going to click on inspect. I'm going to find where the button is. So at the moment, I've actually selected the text and not the background of the button. So I want to scroll up until there it is. So as you can see before, it's kind of got a blue box around the button and then orange around the whole area. So I'm going to click on this one, and it brings up all the different options for that button. We can see the color here. So if I wanted to change the button color, I can do that with a few clicks. Find a color that I like the look of. I could spend hours finding the color because I am literally that sad. Box shadow, we can actually select colors that are already on the screen just by clicking around the screen when this area is open. So that makes it easy to kind of grab other colors that you already have. What you can do is something like that. So next, you can basically go through and change all this content. Now, once you've changed this content, you're going to want to add it into your survey. So I've made a bunch of changes to this area, this section here. So all I need to do is copy this whole entire section, click on copy, go back over to the survey, and paste it into this custom CSS section. Now, once I do that, all those and click on the save button, all those settings will be saved. However, I've already got a I'm already targeting this element at another point in my CSS file, so I'm going to delete this because it's not actually. It will actually conflict with the information that I've already put in there. So yeah, once you've done that, just click on the save button. Once you click on save, you can go back to your pop-up, refresh the page, and the changes will have taken effect. And you can literally do it for anything. You can do it for the text. So if I wanted to change the size of this headline, say I wanted to bring it up to 200%, or maybe I wanted to drop it down to 98%. You can mess about with it all in here, see how it looks, get a general idea, make any changes that you want. One thing to bear in mind, now, if you're just doing custom CSS for your own site, then you can leave it as it is. You don't need to change anything. But if you are doing custom CSS and you plan on exporting the survey to another site, or you want to share it with other people, when you get a CSS element, it will look something like this. You see it's got CVS wrap and then a number. Now this number is the survey ID that you have on your site. Now if you wanted to share this survey with someone, they would have a different ID. So what you want to do is actually delete the whole ID section. So what we are deleting is CVS, wrap, and then the ID number. And we're just replacing it with a W. And that means it basically works on any survey. So that is how you do that. So that's a very quick intro to working with CSS. One thing you will want to check when you're doing CSS is to make sure you keep an eye on responsiveness. So as you're building your survey, drag it down and see what issues are kind of taking place. You can see down here for us, we've got, because I made this border radius so round, the text area at the top is actually coming away from the background. It's starting to go over the edge, and the same at the bottom. So one way to overcome this issue would be to add more padding to the top of the survey. And that would kind of fix that issue from happening. And to do that's really easy. You don't actually have to do that with CSS. You can do it straight inside the plugin. So if I go to back up to our survey, let's say we wanted to add more space above the top question. If I click on the top question, we scroll down to the bottom, you can see we've got padding set to 60 pixels. I could increase that to 120, 150, and it would add more space to the top. Then I could do the same to the bottom of the survey. So at the very bottom on the survey button, I can add padding to the bottom. So if I wanted to add 120 pixels, 150 pixels, bear in mind you'd have to do that to every single step of the sequence to make sure your survey stays consistent as people go through it. So that is a very general guide on setting up CSS. I hope it helps you guys. If you do have questions, let me know. Bye bye for now.